Good afternoon, good evening to fellow Liberians and any of our friends and followers out there who come in contact with this live broadcast from the melting pot. When we say the melting pot, we talked about Liberia and Liberians remaining engaged in body politics happenings in our country in Liberia in diverse conversation and issues that are obtaining in the country. So today I'm on your television. If you're watching on YouTube or LinkedIn, I'm on your devices. I want to say thank you for joining. If you can, please share this show so others can have the opportunity to listen in on this broadcast. So please share the show if you have the opportunity to do so. So let us go quickly into this conversation. I want to just briefly talk on three things that are very important to me right now as it pertains to Liberia. And I think it's important that we have this conversation this afternoon or this evening if you're watching from Liberia. If you're watching anywhere across the world and you are a Liberian in the diaspora, I want to say also welcome. So let us talk about three things quickly, and then I can call it a day, right? I want to talk about presidential leadership. And, because if you look at Liberia where it is right now, one of the things that we're talking about way too often is how we feel that Liberia has been lacking leadership. And a lot of the time, we believe that Liberia is not making the progress we all want to see because that leadership that we so desire is not being delivered. So we will have a little conversation on that, so you can you can hear my opinion on that. If you're joining, I want to say thank you and welcome. Please share this live. Another thing I want us to quickly talk about is and I received a couple of inbox from people who love to hear my opinion on some of these things about the current U.S. Talk about the current U.S. Visa restriction. All right, possible visa restriction on Liberia. And I know it's making headlines in Liberia. We do have friends in places, so yeah, we do hear things as well. So I will be sharing one or two of those things pertaining to that. And then also, I want to talk briefly about integrity institutions. The IMF report, 2025 IMF report on Liberia from the head of the IMF in Liberia mentioned intact. It is critical that integrity institutions are strengthened in terms of capacity. And I have one or two things to say about that. So yes, give me a minute of your time. Let us talk about presidential leadership, some issues around presidential leadership. Let us talk about the U.S., the pending U.S. Restriction on some countries and the issue of integrity institutions in Liberia. So I am Dr. Clarence R. Pearson, Senior, and as a Liberian, we all mean well for our country. So we contribute our 1 or 2 cents, as we say in Liberia, towards conversations that are developing in the country. So, you know, President Boykan came to power on a wide range of criticism of the former administration of George Manawiya. So those who were supportive of President Joseph Yoman Boakai and those who thought he would have brought a difference to the political dynamics of our country had some things in mind. And, one, the first thing that he had in mind was that the country was being badly led. The leadership of the country was bad. And for some of them, even believe that it was so bad that they will use expression like Liberia is in the toilet, right? And some of them said, in fact, even President Boyka himself said that the leadership of George Manawiya was so deplorable that he felt if he had not been replaced, then the country would deteriorate beyond redemption. you know. And so I wouldn't want to go ahead and list all of the things that they had to say, but I mean, that was the premise on which the argument was based, primarily that he was not a leader, he was not fit for the job and stuff like that. And then they argue that President Boyka brought a significant amount of experience to the job, right? So President Boyka was coming with over 40 plus years of public service experience, right? And despite some of us, and not just I alone, but a lot of us who felt that we've known President Boyka for a long time, and we've followed political happiness and development in the country of Liberia, that President Boyka, or anyone for that matter who is aspiring towards the presidency, should demonstrate and point to a tangible, and the word tangible has been abused over so many times, in Liberia, but the word tangible means you should be able to point to a hallmark leadership impact on the country, so that when you promise the people of Liberia that you are able to do something, you are able to also to point fingers to other issues and other circumstances and situations in the country that you have contributed towards and impacted. All right. So in Liberia, there are many of us who felt that having known President Boyka for some level of time did not see a lot of references that you can point to and say, hey, over the 40 years of President Boyka's public service to the country, these are things that you can check off on, right? So they're not there. They were not there. And if you ask people to point to things that President Boyka can show finger to, that he in public service for over um, 40 years and can show the impact of his service, they're just not there, right? However, there are others in the race that we could not speak to, maybe serve in government for 40 years, but if you look at their professional life, you could point to achievements, you could point to productivity, all right? You could pull out data, whether international or local data, to show those mark of successes. You can point to achievements that will help you as an individual to say to yourself, well, if the person were able to make these achievements, it means to say that if we entrust them with the job of running the country, these can be references to which we can say this person has the ability to lead our country the right way, right? So, unfortunately for us as Liberians, whenever we are trying to elect people to office, we go for people who are popular. We go for people who probably are able to distribute the most amount of t-shirts and caps. We go for people who are able to distribute maybe rice in the community, or give few dollars to individual who will blow their horns, right? So these are the kind of people we elect. We also elect people because they are tribally related to us. And because we are related to them tribally, from a tribal background, from an ethnic background, then we think that that translates to better leadership. All right, that will translate to productivity. But that is not the case, and that is not true. Performance is not based on credential of relationship. Performance is based on credential of past output, past outcomes, past impact, right? If you read my current book that is now available around the world and it's available on Amazon, if you have an Amazon account, or if you went on Amazon, if you don't even log into your account, but if you type into Amazon Clarence Pearson, which is my first and my last names, my last name rather, my books will come up, right? When my books come up, you look among those books. I think I got like 12 books on there. And then you will see one that talks about the three factors. The three factors, rethinking the leadership struggles of Liberia. You know, what that book does is that the book look at how we go through elections and elect leaders. The book also talks about because of how we approach our elections, we end up with the wrong results, right? The book also talked about uh, even though sometimes we end up with the wrong results, we are still not able to hold people to account if they're not doing what we elect them to do because of the third factor that I refer to as sycophancy. Sycophancy. And what sycophancy does is that it blinds you because of whatever loyalty you have to that individual person. And there can be many reasons why you may have loyalty to the individual person. So, say for instance, you from the same political party, so you feel that if you criticize this person, then you undermine your own political party. So that is a form of sycophancy. So you tell the person everything you want them to hear. You praise them, even though you know they are not delivering on the results. Right. Another thing is that may project you to become a sycophant is when you maybe you find yourself in a situation where this person that you voted for managed to have given you a piece of job, or through them you're getting $1 or $2, so you feel that if you criticize them and they lose a position, then you no longer get what you're getting from them. Or sometimes you become a sycophant when you probably feel your ties, your ethnic ties, your tribal ties is stronger than your passion for standing up for your country. Those are the things that some of the things that cause you to be a sycophant. And the word sycophant is just saying this person who is supposed to be a leader for you, and then you just chose to be blind about it and support them however way you can, despite the fact that you know they're not delivering results. And I think that is bad for our country. That is very bad for our country. And that's something we need to avoid in order to be the kind of people that we ought to be as a nation. Right? So the second factor, which is bad leadership as a result of sometimes bad election results, so we get bad leaders. Bad leadership also happens because we put wrong people into power who do not have what it takes to deliver on that uh, confidence that we repose in them. You know, the country suffers. The country really suffers, right? And so, even sometimes bad leadership is as a result, it's not that we put a bad person, we elected a bad person. The book also discussed that. If you look on Amazon, you'll find this book there. Just type in my first and last name, like you see on the screen, Clarence Pearson. You see my books will come up. I think I got like 12 books there. And then look among those books, you see when I talk about the three factors. It talks about rethinking, the leadership struggles in Liberia. Why are we struggling with leadership in Liberia? And I mentioned when it comes to political leadership, particularly, I mentioned how we end up getting by elections results, and that's one of the things that hurt us, right? And then another thing I heard is that we got bad leaders, maybe, and that could be a factor as a result of the by election results. And then the third thing is the sycophancy, like your refusal to tell your leader in their face that, listen, I know I voted for you, I know I campaigned for you, I know I have been given some opportunities by you, I know that I'm where I am because of you, but at the same time, because I want to put my country first, I will have to tell you that some things you're doing is wrong. And I can't just make up stories for you. You know, I can't. I just cannot. So let's talk about presidential leadership. Now, listen, when President Boyka, before he could even take office, and I want to make this disclaimer, I was one of those who said outrightly that I didn't think he had what it takes to lead the country. And like I said from the beginning of this broadcast, I based my decision on my reassessment of his past. Like if I would, if all of what the opposition is saying about the current government not doing the right thing, not governing well, if I will go back to replace that government, then I must make sure that the replacement is worth the while. And for that replacement to be worth the while, then whoever I'm replacing the current administration with, I should be convinced that the person has the requisite credentials and requisite reference for delivering on those things that I'm expecting to see deliver. I did not see that in President Boyka. And I always say this: President Boyka and I live in the same district, District number 6, Monserrado County, for many years. For many years, especially since after the Liberian Civil Crisis. If that would be the best way to put it, since after the Liberian Civil Crisis, before then and after the Liberian Civil Crisis, President Boyka and I live in the country in the same district for 6 years. People who know me in District number 6 can attest. Even if you were to ask anyone in District number 6 and call my name and try to ask them about people who read it, prominent people in District number 6, I should say, and you ask them about me and impact I have made in District number 6, they can point to things. Even as I speak right now, I'm not in Liberia right now, right? They can still point to things that I have an impact that I have made. And not just in District number 6, but in Liberia as a whole, and still making that same impact up to today. You can point to things. You cannot point to things in President Boyka's 40 plus years of serving in public office. No, you cannot. Presidential leadership. So now President Boyka takes over governance in our country because the people say, he's been there for 40 years in public service, so he probably might be able to help this country move forward, right? So Liberian people give him the benefit of the doubt, right? After 1 year, from the before the day he took office, I have been pointing out some big missteps, and people were arguing with me, and some people were telling me, "Oh, the old man is not even in office yet. You criticizing him. The old man is not even in office yet. You criticizing him." But all of the criticism that I was making was a sign that he was on the wrong path to begin with, as president taking over the country under the condition and circumstances that he was claiming that the country was in a mess. Let me give the example. For some of you who like practical example. So I was one of those who immediately when President Barker won the elections and former President George Weah placed him that call and say, "Look, I want to congratulate you on your win," even though the final votes were not tallied. And President Boyka left the country and traveled abroad. And Unity Party put up a press statement that the president was going to thank his partisans and those who supported him and voted him into power for electing him to office. So he was taking that trip. And I was one of those who immediately said that decision was a bad one. And this was my reason. You know, when a leader like a presidential candidate, a president, should not only have sight on now, sight on yesterday, sight on now. The president should also have sight on tomorrow. And we call that forward thinking. Forward thinking. To be an effective leader, you need to have purpose. You need to have vision. You need to have influence. You need to exert that influence. You need to have that motivation for people you are driving, right? If you won an election and you have already claimed that the country was in a bad state of affairs, right? So bad that the country was in the drain. Please share the show. My question to President Barker at that time was, why will you be traveling out of Liberia right after you won the elections in a transitional period between the bad governance group and the impending takeover of you who trying to take over from this incompetent, reckless, dangerous, bad leadership, and you trust that transition to someone other than yourself who is the primary driver of your purpose for the country, your vision for the country, who has who bears the flag for change. And why that was even more bad for our country as a presidential candidate taking over was the fact that you was entrusting the future of the very change into hands of individuals who were not elected by the people. What do I mean by that? When the Liberian people said they were voting President Boyka into power, they were not voting for Grisby. They were not voting for Jeremiah Kun, so to speak. Even though Jeremiah Kun was on the ballot, Jeremiah Kun was not the focus of their vote. They were not voting for anyone else than President Boyka. They were not projecting their confidence in anyone else other than the fact that they felt President Boyka had some level of experience they were bringing to the table. So the strength of anything you build is the foundation. The foundation. The foundation of the Boyka administration started with the transition, the presidential transitional team, and the process of the transition. Because it's at that point that you're able to put in place the very mechanisms that will diagnose what you're inheriting and how you can adjust it in the transition process up onto your taking over of it. So that you understand the dynamics of the circumstance and the gravity of the challenge in real time and in real experience as to what is it you're taking on. No, but the president was gallivanting. The president-elect was gallivanting in America here on a fruitless venture that people in his sycophants, now we can say the word sycophants, were propagating on social media and other media that the president was making international contact prior to his presidency, which everything was a lie. They were giving us images of him wearing coats and bluffing, showing off and things. Does that reflect the gravity of the presidency that you had to take over? So now, after a year in office with now multiple missteps, I don't have to list them. We all know that there are multiple missteps, but for the sake of those who just joining the conversation about Liberia, President Boyka's multiple missteps include, some of those missteps include, good thing he did by establishing the TRC, not TRC, but the executive director office, an office for the establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court. And then he appointed an executive director without the proper vetting, proper setting of the foundation. That was a mess. Now we fix it because we caused noise and that was fixed. But leave that. Go to the asset recovery team. Another misstep, putting people who didn't belong in the role and giving them appointments, political appointments to satisfy them. That ended up in a shipwreck and now has been reconstituted again, but still with a lot of misstep. And that will be discussed in third point of integrity institution. But I'm saying this to say that the president started off on bad footing. Everything was, I think, was just propaganda. Like, oh, we're gonna do audits, audit. Where is the audit today? And even with the other structural, institutional review audits or system audits that were done, whatever you want to call them, they all were politicized again. The few that were done were politicized, and then the results were only used to job hunt. Job hunting means you went after tenure officers, tenure public servants, which of course you, President Joseph Boyka, appointed those, assigned those tenure laws as President of the Senate of the Republic of Liberia. You signed those 10 new law under President Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, right? So it was a contradiction of you to do that because you knew the value of tenure position. But again, if you don't want to use tenure position any longer as president of the Republic of Liberia, you have the right to follow the due process of law, do bills of repeal. Repeal the bills, repeal the laws, right? Get the laws changed just how you sign those tenure into law. You can sign them out of the law. You can reverse them through legislative processes. No, but you flaunt the law. You violate the laws. Now let me move on. For presidential leadership is lacking in our country. President Boyka is not providing direction. And don't get me wrong, when I say he's not providing direction, I'm not saying there's not a national strategy, right? So we've had Vision 2030, Vision 2040. We've had Pro Agenda. Now we have the arrest agenda for inclusive, uh, um, inclusive arrest agenda for inclusive something, however you want to call it. But do we see really an inclusive government? No. It appears now that the most important cabinet roles in our country right now is being occupied by people from Lofa County. How can President Boyka not see that is contradictory to the very agenda for inclusive development? Arrest agenda for inclusive development. How can he not see that he is contradicting the very expression inclusive in his very agenda? I mean, that is just an idiotic way to demonstrate that you don't mean business for governance in the country, that you lack the capacity to even see right before your nose your own errors. All right. Let me leave that. Let me talk about now. Open the agenda itself. I'm talking about presidential leadership. Open the agenda itself. Stroll all the way down to where the agenda is talking about how is it going to be funded. In a serious-minded country, an underdeveloped nation, if you want to develop your country, right, how do you go about creating reliance for the development of your country? 70% of input into that plan should come from outsiders. 70%. And then 30% will be the government own input to make that agenda a possibility. Think about it this way. It's like saying you have your home and you develop your budget for your home. And then you tell your children in the house and your wife that 70% of the money you're going to spend in your home to develop your home, send your children to school, pay the hospital bill, maintain your family, maintain your house, and all that kind of thing, 70% of that money must come from outside. And the head of the home will only provide 30%. What is that in this 21st century? What is that? It shows lack of leadership. It shows lack of innovation. It shows that you are not ready to take the bull by the horn. No, it does not. Now, am I saying, for those of you who will want to argue me, am I saying that it is wrong for us to depend on private investment? No. Am I saying that it is wrong for us to depend on bilateral engagements for assistance in loans and grants and stuff? No. But what am I saying? I'm saying, yes, that primarily you should take full responsibility for how the resources will be generated to fund your development. And then your plan B will be that in the event that we ourselves cannot make up for this, this is how we're going to also sort resources and bring it to help complement what we are currently doing. And when that mindset is there, you have a progressive mindset because what that does for you as a president, it makes you to put all your ministers, your cabinet, and everyone working in your government and the other three branches of the government on notice that, listen, our progress rests on us. We must make full use of what we have as a people. And if anything should come from outside of us, we say thank you. But our own development must rest with us as a nation. That is the kind of leadership that Liberia needs. That is the kind of president that Liberia needs. When that mindset is in us, that we need $8 billion to take our country to the next level that we envision. And we will look into ourselves to raise this $8 billion. We are not looking to any ourselves to raise that $8 billion. We're looking to us to raise that $8 billion. When we start to think that way, President Boga will not go to a cabinet meeting and be saying, we will, we will, we will. He will not go to cabinet meeting and say, if we do not give the youth job, they will come to our homes and they will start haunting us. No, he will not say that. He will not say, hey, I want you to do your job. No. A progressive leader who have the vision that he must raise 8 billion come what may in 5 years. He must raise 8 billion. Divide that 8 billion into 5. So if you drew a cycle and you divide that 8 billion into 5 portions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 portions. However way you want to apportion it, whether you want to do a progressive development structure, meaning the first year we will measure, we raise 1.5 billion and invest it in our country. Maybe the next year we'll raise another 2 billion to invest in our country. Maybe the following year we'll raise another 1.5 billion to invest in our country. Because you want to go aggressive or you want to go just aggressive, or however way you go with that, you want to have the pressure to be on you as a nation. And anything else that adds to that is complementary. It's like you say, anything that come to in addition, we say thank you. But it is on us. The onus is on us. Then this will push you as a president. You give purpose, you give vision, you give influence, you give motivation. Now you go about and say, I, as the president of the Republic of Liberia, is saying for us to achieve this, we need to take money from in few hands and distribute it into many hands. So say you drew an arrow that going upward, right? And then that upward arrow suggests that the upward arrow means monies that the country has generated over the past couple of years are in the hands of the few who consider themselves to be the few well-to-do, the few elite, that the word people use, the few well-to-do. I would take money going into the few well-to-do hands, and I will put it in the average people hands. And I will make sure that money also go into the under people hand, meaning the people who are in poverty and the average people. We call it the people in poverty and the middle class. What am I talking about? Why would I want to have so many governmental public position of minister proper, deputy minister, another deputy minister, another deputy minister? Because in one ministry we got minister proper, but we got deputy minister for this, deputy minister for that, deputy minister for the other, deputy minister for the other one. Some offices got 2 to 3 deputy ministers. Then when they move from deputy ministers, the same office get assistant minister for this, assistant minister for that, assistant minister for this, and then when they jump from the counter, director for this, but the same office. Everything goes back into the people who are on top there. And not only that, we have the same, for the same job, we have more than 1, 2, 3 ministries doing the same job, related job, we say, related job. A job that if we combine those 3 ministries together, instead of having 3 directors or 3 ministers, we only have 1 minister proper. And then instead of having those 3 ministries sitting down separate with a different minister, then those 3 ministries now can have the deputy deputy minister for this section, this department, deputy minister for the department of bureau, deputy minister for the department of bureau. So instead of having 3 ministries with elaborate public service staff, you have 1 ministry with 3 departments under it, and each of those departments got a director that functioning under there, or the 3 departments got the deputies, minister that functioning under there. You cut down the cost of those heavy salaries, reduce our wage bill, redirect that money now. So instead of having over 70% or more of our national budget going to salaries for few people, like the Ministry of State alone, just on the Ministry of State alone, instead of having huge salaries on on a wage bill, let's say this: instead of spending 300 million to pay salaries for few people in ministries and agencies that we don't need, let's say we took 100 million and put it directly into agriculture. Now, don't get me wrong, right? I'm not saying, when I say put it directly in agriculture, I'm not saying what we're doing right now. If you look at our national budget, when you see that $15 million in the national budget, say agriculture, it means they're putting it into salaries, ream sheet, this other paper, that other paper, computer, scratch card, gasoline. Those are the things they call agriculture. When they say national budget, they say agriculture. Those are the things they're talking about. They're not talking about direct inputs. The direct inputs that we need for agriculture to advance agriculture in the country is coming from us sellers. Like you say that like wanted some of them suddenly just cut down all the kind of thing. Like you say the EU and other places would depend on us sellers for the kind of money. No. Smallholder farmer and thing. No. I'm not talking about smallholder farmer and all the kind of no. I'm talking about big money into a big national agriculture project. A big let assume that big I'm talking about is just one thing. Maybe 2026 national budget put in there $100 million for rice production. So to achieve that, we tell ourselves the current importation on rice is this amount of dollar. It's a baseline. It's this amount of dollar. For import, the money we use to import rice from outside is this amount of dollar. Based on the quantity of rice, the volume of rice that we bring into the country, this is the quantity of dollars, and this is the volume of rice we bring in our country. The quantum of the money and the quantity of the product we bring in the country. Agriculture for rice. I'm not talking anything else, just say rice. This is the price of rice on the market because of that. Because of the importation cost, the foreign currency impact on the importation of the rice, the put service charges on the importation of the rice, the different custom and duties on importation of the rice. These are all of the charges that come and affect the price of rice on our market. Our agriculture project for 2026 is to invest $100 million into rice production, into rice processing, into the supply chain of rice across the country to make sure that rice that is produced, that rice will be processed, that rice will be distributed across the 15 counties in the 73 electoral districts in our country. I mean, that is the big thinking I'm talking about right there, right? So say we have that big mindset. Another person will say, "Oh, you're talking like you don't know what you're talking about. It doesn't work like that." So first of all, how do you begin this process? So if you want to argue with me that we do not have the current infrastructure on the ground right now, meaning we do not have that that uh that rice processing plant to produce that capacity that we're going to be going for, that big mindset of investment into rice production. That's why we don't have that infrastructure in place. I'm still saying to you, the 100 million could be used in phase. And say 2016, we'll make sure that we will have a state of the art, the state of the art rice production processing plant in our country. 2026 agriculture investment plan will ensure that at the end of 2026, we would have invested 100 million into a state of an art rice production plant. And not just that, but including all of the things that go with it, the logistics that go with it in terms of storage across the country, in terms of storage across, in terms of equipments, in terms of trucks for transportation. Meanwhile, those same small monies that we have that we're using right now from partners that is not reflecting our national budget, and they will still be going on. Yeah, they will still be going on. So, which means those small farmers, stakeholder funding and thing will still be going. They will still be playing the small rest that is still plenty right now. But that national investment plan, funded by the national budget itself, put the country on another level all by itself, intentionally done by the government. Intentionally done by the government. So, say in that 100 million, there's included in there 10 million for the National Agriculture and Development Bank. National Agriculture and Development Bank. So that is there. So say all of that is in that infrastructure layout and repositioning and positioning. So someone will say, "Oh, but we got private, production plants in the country. Let's just strengthen them." It's not going to be the same. I mean, we as a country, the president with a vision. My mother used, peace be unto her, my mother used to tell me, "Clarence, when you want something done right, do it yourself. Do it yourself." So yeah, the government put in the direct agricultural funding and make sure that that money go. So if you say we don't have it now, build state of an art rice processing plant, state of art, with all of the logistics that sound to it and attached to it. Do that. If you say we don't have that, let that be our first focus. But don't forget, I told you that the baseline should be there. What is the quantum of money we spend on rice production? What is the quantity of rice that we bring into the country? Keep that baseline in mind. So saying, because of the arguments and technicality and the process and timing, whatever the case is, say it took us 1 year in national budgetary investment to lay out the infrastructure, national infrastructure. I'm talking about private people, so I mean government. Make sure that plan is there so that when private owner playing fun and bluffing, the government is not depending on private investment. Government has it there. And because of that investment, now Liberians are employed. That's why I said take the money from few hands, give it a pull on a lateral line and on that downward spiral line. Give it employ more people. That will employ more people. Whether it's yard ball, maybe it's security, maybe it be people who to operate the plant, trained to operate the plant. Maybe it's drivers along the different structure that are laid out across the 15 counties or the 73 electoral district for distribution purpose, warehouses and things like that. People are going to be employed across the 15 counties. That in itself is decentralization. That in itself is decentralization. Those warehouses, the thing that whether it is for bringing in the harvested or raw material to be taken to that processing plant, or whether bringing the finished product back to the warehouse in the 73 district for distribution to the community for sale of the rice, that would generate income, employ people, and generate income. So not only that, it generates income for the for the next year budgetary support. It's also going to create job for the people. When the people got jobs, it's going to pay taxes. It's going to create income for the people as well, and it's going to bring back taxes to the government. So the economy gets strengthened. The Liberians get strengthened. The economy also gets strengthened. That's how we do it. So say, for the sake of technicality, yeah, some of you want to be technical. So say yes, investment. Sometimes you lose for the first time while you invest in. So yeah, so maybe for the first time I will building the structure and thing. Somebody will say, yeah, we'll be spending money, but we'll not see it immediately. But that's a lie. We will still see it immediately. Look at the TVET situation. TVET. TVET. Is it true that I will just leave only one topic? Is it true that we have technical vocational training program in Liberia? Yes. What happened to those students when they are in school? Where do they do their practicum? What happened to them when they graduate? What happens to them? The children graduating, they got nowhere to go do anything. They can be part of that national agriculture infrastructure development project. Meaning, those who are in the technical training program will have places now to go either execute their skills that they have learned. Those factories that we are building, those plants that we're building across the 73 electoral district will employ those very children that are graduating from TVET, from those technical vocational training centers. And they are also doing a practicum through that. They can also be maintained after they've built those places across the 70 electoral districts, including, not just, I'm not saying just build the plants, right? You can build the plants, we can pivot, and we can do things like what we saw with bomb mining companies, Lanco thing. That agriculture, that national agriculture infrastructure that we're building across the 15 counties and the 70 electoral districts will definitely be within our agricultural framework, right? Our strategic plan. We will divide our country into agricultural zones. So yeah, at the same time I'm saying. So across the 15 counties, where we are building those infrastructure, we are using the very kids that we're training, the very young people that we're training. President Parker he's talking about youth empowerment, giving young people jobs. That's why I'm saying presidential leadership. President Parker should not be saying, oh, if they don't get the young people job, they will be coming to our house. This is what the president should be saying. I am taking a bold step as the president of the Republic of Liberia. Our 2026 budget, or immediately now, I'm going to do a budget recast. And we're going to be putting $100 million into the national recast on the budget. I'm going to recast, and that $100 million is going to go for direct agricultural input for infrastructure layout across the 15 counties and the 73 electoral districts. We are going to put our TVET trainees to job. We are going to put our engineering department of the AFL into job. We're going to put our prisoners who are in the federal prison, we're going to put them to job. Right? We're going to put our universities across Liberia, Tottenham University, the University of Liberia, whatever university and things that we have that have those technical skills that are needed in the field. We're going to put all of those people into job. Why? Because we are definitely going to gravitate from paying salaries to direct input into developmental initiative that will end up employing other people as well. So someone who losing a job as assistant minister for this, assistant minister for that, deputy for this, and deputy for that, they are all going now into the 15 counties, and they're going to take on supervisory coordinator roles. They're going to take on supervision roles. They're going to take on, managerial roles. They're going to take on other forms of roles that will not be a duplication in one office in Monrovia, but will be as a result of need across the 15 counties. So the guys are not only building factories and warehouses, they are building, housing units to house professionals or workers that are going out to those different counties and those different districts. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying fire people who are having top job. I'm saying cut down all the duplication of jobs, cut down all the duplication of ministries and agencies, merge them, streamline the staff, use the excess dollars, go on an aggressive project like a national agricultural development project with a direct input into something. If it's the infrastructure for agriculture for Liberia, that's infrastructure we're going for, then let's go for it. TVET involved, engineering college involved, in like other engineering colleges in Liberia involved. And don't forget, you can even use the teacher college now, because if people were moving into villages and towns and districts and things, and massive agricultural infrastructure taking place, people who go in there, they got to take their family with them, right? They will need housing. TVET comes in. We may need to strengthen the colleges that are there. So our local community college now get boosted with teachers who are on these very projects payroll. All right. Now the guys, the TVET students, and now they are all in counties and things. When they graduate, they're now going building housing facilities, low housing facilities for those who are being employed outside of the country. Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. People who are going to school for hospitalities are now running to those very areas to build hotels and to employ people in hospitalities. Children who do interior decoration, who's doing how you call it, interior decoration, who's doing hotel management thing. Yeah, they're all gonna get job across our 15 counties. That's how you decentralize carry on major, major direct investment into a sector in the country. And I'm not saying for stationary, for salary. No, I'm talking about. So I say we implementing a direct. The money we put inside going to make, you will see it when when you finish doing it. You will see it. You will not say, oh, we're doing agriculture in the budget. And you can see what you're doing agriculture for, but you will see it on the fiscal ground. So yeah, President Boyka. Now, when you say you take ownership for the arrest agenda, you're talking about as a president, then you will not go to cabinet meeting and say, oh, we need to create jobs for the young people. No, you will say, I have instructed that the national budget will have 100 million in there, and this 100 million is going for infrastructure development for agriculture. We're going to be building warehouses across the country. We're going to be building low staffing houses for those for people who work at the different county and other level, agriculture district level. We're going to be soliciting, and graduates from different the services of graduates from different technical institutions, TVET and things like that, to go in those different counties and areas to build those structure. We're gonna be needing technicians. Maybe 1,000 technicians. We're going to be needing electricians. We're going to be needing plumbers. We're going to be needing masons. We're going to be, that's how you develop the country. When all those children who graduate from TVETs and other vocational training programs are going across the 15 counties, the 73 electoral districts, building warehouses for agriculture and other kind of thing, working in building factories and things. By the time you know it, listen, my people got money in their pocket. Young people will be shining. By the time you know it, taxes are increasing because they're getting money to pay the taxes. And by the same time, people who in construction business are also making money. People who are also in building material business making money. People who are in how we want to call it, people who just running contract, doing warehouse business, or maybe doing transportation, but transportation is going to open into those areas. And because yeah, it's going to happen. Education is going to improve, because if I carry my children maybe in somewhere in Sano County there, because we get some major project taking place there that I have to manage there, of course I will need the college that will be up to date, or the high school that will be up to date. And then maybe teachers that are going there will need proper housing. We have to improve so they will be attracted to the proper housing. Who knows? Somebody will say, but if we got that kind of vibrancy going there, they want to carry a supermarket there. That's how country open. Somebody will say, but then if that's the case, we need, instead of having video club, we need cinema there. That's how country open. Somebody will say, you know what? Why I see it looking? Then I need to carry another form of entertainment, something there, maybe casino, or maybe, but I mean, I'm just saying that's how things happen. DSTV will say, you know what, now I gotta carry, we gotta make sure we carry our own service there too. That's how things happen. We can't keep doing the same old thing over and over and expect this country to improve. We need presidential leadership. President must provide that purpose. And when we put the demand on us for the arrest agenda, President Barker revisit the arrest agenda, revise it and say that the money for this arrest agenda is going to come from Liberia, 100%. And if there's going to be any public-private investment, it will be because of a complementary effort that we encourage. But it's not because we are reliant on it. No. Take it by the horn. And when you take it by the horn and you see the severity, then you can go to board meeting and say, you know what happened? I hear NPA said the other day when we're revising CTM. NPA. What gave you the audacity to say you want 18% of the revenue from the CTM that come into government library? Why give you the audacity to say you want 18%? No. Every single revenue generated in our country as of today going forward, no matter what the agency or institution is, must pass through LRA, and LRA must account for all of that money. That money must be sent directly to a national account. A national account. I'm not talking about your so-called what you call consolidated account that is everybody can go and play, but a national account that account for all of revenue generation in Liberia before it goes to any other account. It should fall into that account first so we can know our true value, our true revenue value. We're not arguing that it's not coming from you. We'll be able to track it to know that it's coming from you, but and what is coming in for, what is paid for. But every single dime will have to go through that national revenue account in central bank, so that at the end of the revenue year, fiscal year, I should be able to see what Liberia potential for revenue is. Whether the revenue is collected outside Liberia or what is collected inside Liberia, so long as for Liberia, it must pass through the national revenue account. GAF1, I don't know how it's going to work because I'm a president. I'm not a financial expert. I'm not a financial technician. But I'm telling you, as of this cabinet meeting, go back and tell me in 30 days how that is possible, how you can make that possible. I don't want to know how you're going to do it, but I want it to happen. Every single time. Double you and Gafan, your goal. I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't know how it's going to happen, but as of today's state cabinet meeting, I gave them 30 days to tell me how is it going to be possible that every single dime generated in the name of Liberia for revenue, it can be maritime, NPA, whatever, whoever you are, that dime must be accounted for in central bank national revenue account. And I want to know what the value of our revenue strength is, because we have an agenda to support, and our development must be in our own hands. Yes, President Boyka, that's presidential leadership. It means you give him direction, you give him purpose, you give him vision. And then I want to use agriculture as an example, right? But we could do the same thing with electricity. Electricity is pivotal. It's very important to the development of any country. If you want Liberia to move from zero to hero in a split second, electricity is a major factor. Now, we all know that it does not make sense to be giving 20 million, 19 million, 20 million, 18 million, 25 million, 60 million to CLSG, to Car Power, or whoever else you want to call them, who is an electric company, and saying that because we're getting current from outside, so we're paying them 20 million every year, 19 million every year. When we can say to ourselves, okay, so Wet Plains does not have the capacity to give current to everybody, right? So we have energy zones in our country. We separate our country into energy zones, right? Even if we have the energy zone, but our energy zone demarcation is going to be based on the capacity of electricity that we can produce in those energy zones. And it should be Liberia own energy. Liberia own energy, so that we're not paying, we're not making Ivory Coast rich and remain poor. We're not making Ivory Coast rich and remain poor. But that 20 million, we can invest it And let me say this for those of you joining me and think say I'm just talking from the sky. Go on Google, wherever you want to go, or go to LEC or go to Finance Ministry, because the Ministry of Planning and Development. So go there and ask for the different plans and research that we've done on where we can generate power in Liberia. Also research and find out power plants, meaning power plants that we had in Liberia before and that got damaged and that we just neglected. You will notice that we have meaning power plant in Lofa, we have meaning power plant projects in Bonkanda, we have meaning power plant projects in Nimak and the other areas. We got meaning power plant projects in South, I want to say North, Central, and Southern, Western Liberia. We got the potential to produce power in those areas. Whether it's going to mean that we're going to go solar or we're going to go hydro, we have those structure in mind. And what we're lacking to do is to have the presidential leadership that will say in this fiscal budget this year for electricity. I don't want to hear that nonsense that we're giving 20 million to CLSG, because it doesn't benefit us in the long run. I want to hear us saying that we're putting 50 million in the budget for electricity. And that 50 million is going to ensure that if you want to do it by phase, yeah, do it by phase. Say phase one, it will take this power development plant in Bond County to from 0 to 50% with the first investment we're going to do in that from the national budget for that year. Maybe the next year, when we put another 50 million into there or 75 million into there, it's going to take that power production in Bond County and in our hydro plant to another 50%. By the third year, another investment will get into there, the plant will be in full, will be running fully, and they will serve this electric zone, this power zone in our country. That's the forward thinking for Liberia. Somebody will say, yeah, but dry dust, what will you be eating before the door dry? But that's the point I'm making here. Even though dry dust, what you be eating before the door dry, but you cannot mind that expression. And because you say dry dust, what you be eating before the door dry, and just be drying that door perpetually, and the door can never get dry. That's what we've been doing like for 177 years. We keep using that parable, and the door can never get dry. So we have to find a way to invest in the country in a way that the door will get dry. So yeah, what you eating now? I said don't eat it, but put something aside so that you can invest it so that the dog can be getting dry in the meantime. I want to see smoke on the dog that getting dry. I want to see smoke. We cannot just be eating what we're eating now and don't get any meat on the dryer, because we need that long-term sustainable investment. You know, and let me move forward to close for now and say thank you for viewing me. I'm just talking about, some of the things are going wrong in our country and we're not paying attention to it. And that is the presidential leadership. The president needs to have some guided purpose and some vision. And this does not mean because you have a national, or what do you call it, arrest agenda for inclusive development, and you say that's it. No, that's not it. You can get arrest agenda for inclusive development, and at the same time, there is no vision, there's no purpose, there's no influence, there's no direction for the country. And all I said today is that listen, to hear us say, oh, we got 15 million in there for agriculture, and we'll go check it only there for salary and for transportation and for scratch card and for gasoline. That's not it. And then when you go look at, they say, oh yeah, we got the agricultural project. Agricultural project is only because we depend on other people for it. No, that's not. We need to take the bull by the horn. Put $100 million into the budget and say for 2026, this 100 million is for agriculture and is for direct input for infrastructure development to make Liberia self-sufficient in agriculture. If it can solve that problem, that will be the first step. And that first step could be that investment to lay the groundwork to begin with. Agriculture bank, 20 million or whatever the case is to start agriculture and development bank. And then the remaining of it goes into infrastructure layout across our agriculture zones. Purpose, state of the art rice processing plant, If it can turn into a multi-crop processing plant, yes, but a rest, state of the art rest processing plant, warehouse network across the country, logistical and not logistical support to those to that infrastructure as well. If our first investment for the first year cannot achieve it, we put another 100 million there for continuation of that investment plan. Now we need to do that, and just by doing that, I said, take money from people in multiple areas doing the same job, in multiple institutions doing the same job, narrow our government down, and invest the money into lateral investment into people so they can get jobs. People in the lateral build the middle class, underprivileged people, those who in the down that ladder, invest in them too. Manual labor, let them get money to come past. Let us do that. And I think if we do that, and that will go to for other areas like the electricity, and that will also go for technology, meaning like we take it for granted, but cell telecommunication network across the country, internet across the country, those are all pivotal investment that we need, but we need to take it back the home. And I want to say thank you for following me today. And I want to say, now I know we couldn't finish the remaining topics because of time. I have to go back to my job. My lunchtime is over. So have a wonderful rest of the day, and I hope that you learned something from this broadcast today.